I never imagined a millionaire could turn my heartbreaking fate around. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. My heart raced as I stood in front of the wreckage, the remnants of my old life scattered around me like broken dreams. It felt surreal. The air was thick with smoke and despair. I could taste the ashes on my tongue, just like the bitterness of loss clinging to my heart. I clenched my trembling fists, fighting back tears. One moment, I had a routine. I worked at the small cafe on the corner, making lattes for moody customers and dreaming of a better life. I had Jason rock. He was everything to me, his laughter like music that played when the world turned dark. He should have been there. But that morning, fate decided differently. A car spun out of control, and in a blink, everything shattered. The whispers began, the rumors flowing through our small town like a flood. It was my fault, they said. I should have been with him. How could I have let him leave without a goodbye? My stomach churned. The anger bubbled in my chest, twisting into guilt. Jason was gone, and all I had left were memories, stained with regret. Then, news of him reached mysterious millionaire who had shown up to help. They said his home was a mansion, sprawling over the cliffs where the ocean crashed below. Everyone went on about his fortune, his power. But why would a man like him care about someone like me? I couldn't wrap my mind around it. As days passed, I roamed those deserted streets, strangers casting sideways glances, murmuring my name like a curse. I felt invisible, a ghost trapped in my own shell. But then I heard a soft knock at my door one evening, the sound echoing in the silence that had become my life. I opened it to find him standing there, tall, enigmatic. His eyes were stormy, reflecting a world of pain hidden behind a polished facade. "I'm here to help you," he said, his voice deep and calm, but something in the way he spoke sent chills down my spine. Help? From him? It felt absurd. Why would he care? My mind raced with questions, each one heavier than the last. The air was electric around us, filled with tension. Why? I whispered, my breath hitching, and then it dawned on Meth's secrets I might uncover. The connection that wrapped tighter with each heartbeat. What was his story? What did he want from me? The silence stretched, thick and suffocating, hanging between us like a noose. I could see the flicker of determination in his gaze, and beneath that, something vulnerable, something desperate. I was at the edge of something enormous. But where would it lead? And what would it cost? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. I stepped back, the doorway framing a moment I never intended to live. The hints of sunlight slipping away created a halo around him, but the grief that clung to me made it hard to see past my own despair. The lines of his face told stories that spoke of loss, but all I could think of was Jason's absence. I was torn between the desire for connection and the instinct to shut him out. What do you want? The bitterness in my voice surprised even me. It hung in the air, thick and resistant, pushing him back as if I were defending an invisible fortress. His expression shifted, eyes softening, and for a heartbeat, I saw a flicker of understanding. "I want to help you make sense of this," he replied, his voice steady. I hadn't expected him to be so direct, so open. Yet, it only deepened my suspicion. "I lost someone too, not long ago," he added, the weight of those words settling between us. I blinked, startled. How could you possibly know what I feel? The anger seeped through my walls, challenging his sincerity. He nodded slowly, inviting my fury to wash over him. "I may not know all the details, but I understand loss. It consumes you, haunts you at every corner." His gaze searched mine for an opening, a willingness to dive deeper into the waters of pain. "Then tell me," I urged a challenge. "What do you know about losing everything?" A faint smile broke through a kind clouded in sorrow. He stepped forward, now just a breath away. I know it's not just the person you miss. It's the life you had, the hopes you harbored, the quiet moments. The reminder slid into my heart like a dagger. Each word resonated, pulling me closer to the ache I'd try to stifle. Jason and I had shared dreams. We made plans over steaming cups of coffee, promising futures in our laughter. Just before the world turned upside down, that I don't need your pity, I spat, tearing my gaze away. But it was futile. My eyes fixed on the flicker of pain that danced in his. You have everything. What do you know about heartbreak? I was once like you. He confessed, the bravado slipping away. My life was perfect until the day it wasn't. I was spending money in a different world, too busy to notice those who loved me. The weight of his admission hung between us, an unexpected bond. After I lost my sister, I realized that nothing mattered our possessions, our money, only the connections we make. His sincerity struck a chord, music to a silence I'd thought would never dissolve. Could someone like him genuinely understand? Slowly, the fire that had sparked in my heart began to dim, replaced by a warmth I wasn't ready to embrace. Why would you help me? I asked, the walls around my heart quivering. Because I can't let you suffer alone. I know what it feels like. Just then, as if the universe had been listening to our quiet exchange, an unexpected thunder rolled overhead. The sky darkened, and raindrops began to splatter against the pavement. We should get inside, he suggested, glancing up. Yet his voice was sharp with intent that I hesitated, my heart hammering between fear and the desperate wish to find solation, unspeakable longing to be cradled in connection instead of anguish. But the shadows whispered doubt. I can't do this. He stepped into my space, breaking the barrier in a way that sent an electric current through me. You're stronger than you think, he murmured. You just have to let me in. As the rain poured, drenching the world outside, I stood frozen, entrenched in a conflict between trust and despair, vulnerability and defiance. Before I could answer, a loud crash echoed, breaking the solemn quiet. The sound seemed to shatter the air around us, and instinctively, I turned toward the noise of me heart racing. Out of the chaos, beneath the darkened clouds, a figure appeared, stumbled onto the street outside. My knees trembled as the recognition hit me like a tidal wave that it was someone from my past, someone who I thought had disappeared from my life for good. Help me, they shouted, their voice raw and desperate. My breath caught, frozen in disbelief. So many questions swirled in my mind, but none of them mattered. All I felt was a pang of fear for what would come next. Who was this person, and what secrets did they bring with them from the shadows? Suddenly, my world tilted again on its axis. I grasped the doorframe tight, feeling the tremors of a new storm brewing just beyond my reach. The figure slumped against an old, rusted car, rain streaming down their face, mingling with tears that mirrored my own. My heart raced as I took a reluctant step forward, drawing closer to the doorway, but still tethered by disbelief. Is it really you? I called out, my voice barely rising above the deafening patter of rain. The shape turned, and for a moment, I was frozen in time, a scene I had never anticipated playing out right before my eyes. Memories flooded back like a dam, bursting laughter shared, dreams whispered, promises made. It's me, they rasped, eyes glistening with a mixture of pain and hope. I'm back, and I need your help. Jason's absence echoed in the background like an ominous refrain, drowning out any immediate sense of relief I might have felt. Instead, I only felt the cold grip of anxiety claw at my throat. After everything that happened, how could you just come back here? My voice trembled with resentment, tinged by the remnants of betrayal. The figure took a hesitant step forward, rain soaking through their clothes, but their eyes burned with a fire I recognized all too well. I had no choice. I thought I could start fresh, but I'm in trouble, and I didn't know who else to turn to. What do you mean, trouble? I pressed, the walls I had built around my heart suddenly feeling fragile. You disappeared. You left us to figure things out without you when we needed you the most. My words dripped with the weight of my own grief, my need to be heard. Things spiraled. You know how it is, they pleaded, desperation spilling over. I thought I was making the right decision, for everyone's sake. But then life just happened. You have to believe me. From the corner of my eye, I could see the $1 million philanthropic heir standing in the rain, uncertainty etched across his features. I had dragged him into my chaos without care, while my heart was still operating in survival mode, grappling with betrayal, grief, and the hope of salvation. Do you really expect me to trust you? I spat back, unable to contain the rise of anger in my chest. The familiar sting of betrayal resurfaced, reminding me of all the times I had believed in others only to have my expectations ripped apart. Suddenly, he spoke up, his tone calm and resolute. You don't have to trust her yet, but maybe consider what she's asking. She's here. This is a chance to reconnect. Reconnect? I scoffed, feeling the breeze of frustration swirl like a storm inside me. You think that's what I want? After everything? He didn't shy away. You have a choice, and a chance to make sense of your past while standing on this precipice. She's come back for a reason. Maybe it's fate, or maybe it's a mistake. Either way, you deserve to hear her out. I turned back to the figure, drenched and desperate. Underneath the storm, a flicker of recognition sparked. This person, however flawed, was still a thread woven into the fabric of my past. They've been part of Jason's life, part of mine. My breath caught as I weighed the decision heavily pressed upon my heart. What do you want from me? I asked, exhaustion lacing my words. Why now? I need to remember, she whispered, her vulnerability raw. I thought leaving was the answer, but it wasn't. I need your forgiveness. And I need help. If anyone knows how to navigate this darkness, it's you. Her words hit me harder than I anticipated, but darkness lurked in the corners of my mind, warnings echoing of the trust one had lost so easily before. Jason's laughter reverberated within the chambers of my heart, a reminder of love now extinguished. Just then, a booming clap of thunder stole the moment, and I felt as if the skies themselves bore witness to our clash. 3 individuals tangled in a web of pain and loyalty, each seeking a way to dive deeper into that turbulent ocean of memory and remorse. My reluctance hung thick in the air, a palpable wall formed by unresolved feelings and a deep-seated need for protection. I met the figure's gaze and saw it for what it was, a reflection of my own heartbreak mirrored back at me, an echoing plea for understanding and, perhaps, companionship in our shared sorrow. Once again, my world swayed between the safety of my own solitude and the risk of opening myself to painful truths. In that heartbeat, I had to choose the architect of my own healing or the prisoner of my past. Come inside, I finally said, my voice barely above a whisper. It wasn't an invitation, not yet, but a mere reverberation of my hope for resolution. We need to talk. As we stepped inside, the rain pounded against the windows, and the storm mirrored the tumultuous feelings in my heart. I watched as the shadows shifted, understanding the longing for connection gripped each of us for different reasons, but clarity was still elusive. The door swung shut behind us, sealing our fates together in that moment, and uncertain whispers began to swirl in the room, foreshadowing uncharted territory ahead. I felt a knot of fear tighten into my chest. Was I bound to unravel a new story or simply relive the last tragedy? And as we stood on the precipice of confrontation, another wave of thunder cracked outside, shaking the very foundation of everything I thought I knew. The air inside was thick, laden with the moisture from the storm outside, and a silence too heavy to break loomed over us. I could feel my pulse in my ears as I gestured for her to take a seat at the small, weathered kitchen table, the one Jason used to demand when we engaged in silly debates over which movie to watch. It felt like a relic now, echoes of life woven into its scars. The figure me past come back to haunt me hesitated before settling into a chair across from me, water still dripping from her hair. I took a seat opposite her, an old weight of familiarity mixed with bitterness settling between us. I searched her face, waiting for the courage to ask what we both knew needed to be said. I don't understand how you can show up here after everything. I said finally, my voice teetering on the edge of fragility. You left. You just disappeared. The words tasted bitter on my tongue, the hurt still fresh. She reached out, hand trembling. I know it must hurt to see me, but I thought. She paused, visibly gathering her thoughts, the storm outside emphasizing her struggle. I thought leaving would spare you both the pain of seeing me battle my demons. My heart twisted painfully at the notion of being shielded from her struggles. And instead, you made it worse, I replied, my voice shaking with emotion. I had to carry the weight of your disappearance, along with the loss of Jason. It felt like you chose your pain over us, over all that we built. I didn't want you to carry my burdens, she said softly, eyes glistening under dim kitchen lights. But somewhere along the way, I realized that in running, I only made it worse. I was drowning, and the pain was just too much to face. That it still is. I exclaimed, feelings boiling over. I've been drowning too, and you left me to wade through a dark, uncertain sea alone. Her gaze fell, and for a moment, the flicker of shared understanding ignited an unspoken recognition that we were both fighting our inner battles. I could have gathered more anger, more resentment, but amidst the storming chaos of my heart, there lay a small ember of compassion whispering to break the walls. Maybe despair wasn't the only force binding us. I want to help, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I need to make amends for what's been torn apart. Please, let me prove that I can still be a part of your life, if you'll let me. The thought of letting her in felt dangerous, akin to cracking open a door to a storm I had spent so long trying to escape. What if your demons come back to haunt us? I challenged. What if they invade our lives again? What makes you think I can trust you? I don't expect you to, she replied, meeting my gaze with sincerity. But I'm ready to fight. I want you to see me for who I am now, not the person I was when I left. You deserve that chance. We deserve that chance. Before I could respond, Jason's name echoed in the corners of my mind again, his laughter a bittersweet reminder of joyous times that felt utterly out of reach. We lost him, I muttered almost to myself. He's gone. That's something we can never come back from. I know, she said, her voice filled with empathy. And I know it's not just me you have to forgive. It's him too. But connecting with our past doesn't have to be defined only by loss, does it? There could be strength there, a chance to rebuild, even if it feels impossible right now. And I promise, I want to help. That I swallowed hard, wrestling with the truth in her words, the potential of healing amid jagged scars. Outside, the rain lost some of its intensity, just a whispering drizzle now, carrying with it the tension of what was yet to unfurl. That a sudden, loud banging at the door jolted me from my reverie, causing both of us to jump. My heart raced as I glanced toward the entrance, the flickering light's source casting elongated shadows against the walls. Fear coiled anew within my chest. The sound felt like a harbinger of chaos, a sign that the night was far from over. Who could that be? I asked, my voice steadying yet colored with unease. I don't know, she said, her eyes darting toward the door, worry seeping into her expression. Voices carried through the pounding rain, indistinct but urgent, a collection of footsteps growing louder as they approached our doorstep. The sense of dread pooled in the pit of my stomach, wrestling with the fragile hope ignited in our earlier conversation. As I stepped toward the door, my mind raced with possibilities. I was unprepared for whatever lay beyond it, uncertain if I was ready to face any more truths, answers, or surprises. But like a soft spark amidst looming darkness, I felt a flicker of bravery within me. Ensnared in a whirlpool of emotion, I turned to the figure sitting behind me, our moment of reconciliation suspended in the balance. Before I reached for the doorknob, a sharp, frantic voice cut through the rain-soaked evening air. Please, you have to let us in. It's a matter of life and death. As my breath hitched, the realization weighed heavily on my heart. Nothing would be the same again. The storm was barely, just beginning. Shadows were deepening as the night stretched out, holding its breath for the choices yet to unfold. I stood frozen for a heartbeat, teetering on the brink of a decision that felt monumental. The pounding on the door resonated in a way that felt ominous, and I knew the words echoing on the other side bore significance far beyond a simple plea. It was as if the universe had turned its gaze on me, demanding an answer only I could provide. The voice, I whispered, more to myself than to her, trying to grasp the fragments of familiarity that soaked the sound. I recognize it. What do you mean? She asked, searching my face for clarity as fear gripped her features. Please, we're running out of time. The voice called again, urgency weaving through each syllable, tugging at my instinct to open the door, to let them in. With each knock, the echo shook my core, mingling memories with uncertainty. Could I really trust whoever stood out there? The past had carved deep, jagged lines within me. Who was I to risk further heartbreak? Yet, the voice had held a desperate plea, an urgency that cracked the softened walls of my heart, allowing a faint glow of hope to seep through. When I recalled the face that went with that voice, a tremor ran through me. It belonged to Lucas, Jason's best friend, a person I'd nearly forgotten, a steadfast figure from time when everything felt incredibly whole. Suddenly, memories of laughter and shared dreams washed over me. But then waves of despair threatened to pull me under once more. I recollected how Lucas had drifted away after Jason's death, his own grief pulling him into shadows. If he was here now, it must be dire. Are you sure you want to open that door? She asked, echoing my internal turmoil, her face clouded with concern. If it's Lucas, he wouldn't be here unless something was wrong, I murmured. The thoughts raced through my mind. What had happened? Was he okay? Had something gone amiss with the few people left anchoring us to the world? In that instant, I understood the stakes. Taking a deep breath, I grasped the doorknob. The wood felt cold, grounding against the storm, surging both outside and within. I steeled myself, turned it, and swung the door open. Lucas stood there, drenched, panic etched across his face. It was as if the storm had become a part of him. His hair clung to his forehead, eyes wide with desperation. Behind him, shadows flickered, hinting at others waiting, shadows from our shared past, resurrecting without warning. Get inside. Now, I urged, stepping back to allow him entry. He bolted through the doorway, followed by another Figueroa woman, whose soaked clothes hinted at a long journey, not only through the rain, but through tumultuous emotions as well. What's happened? I asked as I closed the door tightly against the storm. Why are you here? It's urgent, Lucas said, breathing heavily as he looked around, his eyes darting without rest. Then, he shifted his gaze to the figure who had settled at the table, the figure I had barely begun to reconcile with. You, he said, his voice suddenly cold. I should have known you'd come back to haunt us. Lucas, I cautioned, stepping between them, recognizing the raw anger festering beneath his words. Shesh is trying to make sense of things, too. This isn't the time, no, you don't understand. He interrupted, his voice rising again, burdened with grief and frustration. Something terrible has happened. Jason, he didn't just disappear. There's talk. There's something more. There are people out there. Each word felt like a heavy weight on my chest, tightening a grip I hardly knew was there. The implications twisted my insides, leaving me gasping for relief. What do you mean? I choked out, dread covering me like a cold shroud. People connected to him as life before, things we didn't know about. It's all unraveling, and they're coming for answers. Lucas' voice broke, dripping with sorrow. It's not just about memory anymore. The storm has swept in danger, and we're all caught in the middle of it. Before I could process his words, the woman behind Lucas stepped forward, her presence oddly grounding. Imjena. She introduced herself softly, her eyes filled with understanding, yet laced with shadows of pain. I came with Lucas because I found something about Jason. Hope and fear waged war within me. What do you know? The question slipped past my lips like a prayer. Jenna's gaze met mine with a depth filled with ghostly possibilities. There are connections between Jason's life and things he kept hidden. It could change everything. But her voice faltered. But it's dangerous to reveal. He trusted us, then why are you telling me now? I exclaimed, my heart racing, a cascade of emotions ready to overtake me. Because it's not just Jason's life that's at stake. Lucas interrupted again, urgency lacing his tone. There are people who want to silence the truth. And it's coming for you too. The weight of his words hovered around the room, thickening the air. I struggled to breathe. My mind spun, caught in a tight web of emotions and fresh uncertainties. I felt her presence behind me. The figure I'd spent the night trying to reconnect with, all while facing the shadow of our past. And I realized, just like that, the storm outside had mirrored something much larger closing in. As a shiver of apprehension cascaded down my spine, I felt the tension rise, the mosaic of our grief and histories colliding at that very moment. I stole a glance at her, this woman who had once fled but now stood beside me, grappling with the horrors of our shared memory. The fractured paths we had taken intersected with the urgency that flooded the room, threads of our lives threatening to entwine dangerously. I pulled back into myself. Amidst the whirling chaos engulfing us, I knew one thing. We were all being beckoned deeper into a storm that demanded answers. And even as dread hung thick in the air, one thought lingered, persistent like the rain outside would, confronting the truth, reclaim our lives or unleash something far darker. With the newfound knowledge hanging over us, I understood the storm was not simply an external force. It was also the threat of our pasts returning with ferocity, and we were each but players caught in the eye of the tempest. The air inside the small house felt thick. Breaths were shallow and mismatched, a sorrowful chorus of unshared pain. Lucas shook slightly, the storm of emotion overwhelming him as he leaned against the table. The fight that had been simmering in his eyes remained, yet beneath it lurked a vulnerability I hadn't seen before. "Please, you need to understand," he implored, his voice quivering. "This isn't just about what happened to Jason. It's about what you don't know what he was involved in before everything changed. There are people searching for the truth who won't hesitate to silence anyone who gets in their way." Jenna was quiet, her gaze drifting to a small window where the rain pounded against the glass, as if nature itself mourned our shared burdens. I wished I could reach through that veil and peel off the layers of confusion and grief, but the storm outside mirrored the chaos within. "Why should we believe you?" she said suddenly, her tone sharper than I expected. "After everything, how do we know you're not just here to play games with our minds?" "Because I came to seek help, not to hurt," Lucas replied, his voice softening but laced with urgency. Jason was putting pieces together, and there's no denying he had dirt on people. I overheard conversations, shadowy dealings that never quite made sense. But he thought it was all going to blow over. He never shared any of it, and I didn't push. I didn't want to pry, but you should have. I interjected, the frustration leaking into my tone. "We've all been left in the dark, Lucas. If you knew something was amiss, why wait until now to say anything?" "Because I didn't want to believe it," he said, meeting my gaze with desperate honesty. "Now I'm terrified of what might happen next. I should have acted sooner. I should have been there with him. What if his secrets are too dangerous? What if your life stopped?" I interrupted again, feeling that squeeze around my chest tighten further. "We don't know enough to make accusations. She trusted you, and now look at us. Skirting around the truth won't help anyone." "You're right." His voice dropped, the resignation palpable. "But I can't feel good about myself when I wasn't brave enough to help him when I could." Jenna took a step closer, her hand resting lightly on Lucas' shoulder. "What's done is done. The important thing now is not to dwell. Instead, let's figure out how to piece Jason's story back together, not just for him, but for all of us. We owe him that much." The room grew quiet, each of us lost in thoughts twisted with grief and guilt, grappling with how the repercussions of our shared past haunted us. Outside, the rain, relentless in its despair, drummed against the roof as if urging us to find resolve. "It'll help," I voiced softly, my heart pounding both with fear and determination. "Whatever it takes to understand what Jason was involved in, I need to know. If Lucas is right, if there's a danger looming, we all need to prepare ourselves." The sudden shift in the atmosphere felt electric, and for the briefest moment, a spark of hope ignited, embers of connection flickering through the storm that threatened to engulf us. Lucas exchanged a glance with Jenna, a shared moment of clarity passing between them, something solid in the chaos. They were unearthing something genuine amid the turmoil. "Let's start from what we know," Jenna suggested, her voice steady, grounding. "Anything, any connection, we've got to dig deeper." My phone buzzed violently on the table, breaking the fragile moment. It startled us all, an unwelcome reminder of the outside world, of responsibilities and realities we couldn't ignore. The screen lit up with an unknown number, the ominous block of digital light feeling like a warning. "Answer it," Lucas said instinctively, his eyes wide with urgency. It might be something that I looked at him and, after a brief hesitation, picked it up, my heart racing. I answered with a shaky breath, bracing for whatever might come. "Hello?" I finally managed, my voice a whisper, the weight of the moment sweeping over me. "Is this your name?" A terse voice on the other end said, resonating with an intensity that danced in stark contrast to the heavy air surrounding us. "Yes," I replied, my breath quickening. "Who is this?" "There's no time to explain. We know about Jason, and we know you're digging. You need to drop it now," the voice warned, cold and unyielding, sending a chill down my spine. "Or else," my stomach twisted, dread sinking into my bones. "Or else what?" I countered, my voice barely above a whisper. "Or else you won't just lose the truth. You'll lose everything," the voice hissed before cutting off. The line went dead, leaving a heavy silence that pressed against us. I dropped my phone onto the table, my fingers trembling. Lucas and Jenna exchanged horrified glances, their expressions shifting from intensity to fear almost in unison. What did they say?" Lucas asked, leaning forward, eyes sharp with concern, chasing the dread settling like stones in my stomach. I swallowed hard, trying to find my voice among the storm of panic rising within me. "They know they warned me to stop searching. They claimed there would be consequences." "Who the hell was that?" Jenna pressed urgently, her worry morphing into protectiveness. "We can't allow this to intimidate us. Whoever they are, they're just trying to scare us." But as Lucas' hand brushed mine, I felt the weight of truth rest heavy on my shoulders. The storm outside raged on, mirroring the growing tempest in our hearts. We were caught in a whirlpool of sorrow, anger, and uncertainty, and now we stood at a turning point that could either reclaim our lost stories or enmesh us deeper in the shadows of fear. The only thing I knew for certain was that the stakes had never been higher or more fragile. We could never turn back now. With the phone still buzzing with adrenaline and anxiety, Jenna took a step closer, her face etched with concern. "We can't let this stop us. If they want to silence us because of Jason's truth, then that means it's important. We need to uncover what he knew," she said, her voice unwavering despite the storm brewing outside. Lucas appeared lost in thought, the weight of the revelation landing heavily on his shoulders. "But how can we do that without putting ourselves in even more danger?" he asked, his hands gripping the edge of the table, as if it were the only thing keeping him grounded. "That'd be why being smart," I replied, trying to summon a confidence I didn't fully feel. "We have to go about this carefully. What if we start with Jason's last known activities?" I paused, remembering the disarray in his room after everything had happened. "He had a notebook, right? Something that could point us in the right direction?" Jenna nodded. "I remember him mentioning it once. If he was keeping track of things' names, dates, there might be something in there that we need to get back to his house," Lucas suggested, a flicker of determination igniting in his eyes. "We can't waste time. It might be risky, but there's no point in sitting here waiting for something to happen." The three of us stood in a circle, an unspoken agreement forming among us. The need to uncover the truth had solidified our bond, a shared mission to not only seek justice for Jason, but also to reclaim our own sense of agency amidst the chaos. The stakes were high, and the shadowy figure from the call loomed over us. But deep down, a glimmer of resolve began to blossom within me. As we moved toward the door, I hesitated. What if we're walking into a trap? I asked, my heart racing. What if that voice was just a warning to scare us away? "Even if it is, it means we're on the right path," Jenna said. "If they're desperate enough to make threats, it means we must be close to something they want to hide. Nodding that we were indeed in this together, we stepped out into the downpour, the heavy rain soaking us as we hurried to Jenna's car. The engine roared to life, and as she drove, we fell into a tense silence, each of us lost in thoughts about what awaited us at Jason's house. The familiar route felt altered in the dim light of the storm. Shadows danced in the corners of my vision, teasing me with the echoes of everything that had transpired. It struck me then that the world we occupied had shifted. Our once mundane lives were now intertwined with danger, leaving behind the naivete of who we thought we were. Minutes later, we pulled up to his house, the rain tapering off as if the universe sensed the gravity of the moment. But instead of relief, a new level of tension settled in the air, a kind of anticipatory dread that even the storm had succumbed to. "Okay, quick and quiet," Lucas whispered, stepping onto the porch. "We don't need any neighbors noticing us." I followed closely, nearly stumbling on the slick steps. The door creaked open with unnerving ease, each inch deeper into the home, dragging us through memories both warm and painful. As the light from Jenna's phone illuminated the musty hallway, I couldn't help but feel the ghosts of laughter and conversations linger in the air, mocking our grim pursuit. "His room is upstairs, I think," Jenna whispered, guiding us down the corridor. We climbed the staircase carefully, the old wood groaning under our weight like a warning. The door to Jason's room was partly ajar, a sliver of darkness beckoning us inside. Stepping over the threshold felt like trespassing into a sacred space, but Jason had entrusted us with the truth. I swallowed hard as I entered, taking in the remnants of his life scattered throughout, posters tacked to the walls, clothes strewn across the floor, and the unmistakably personal detail of a desk piled high with papers, a mess that seemed to echo his restless mind. "Look for the notebook," I encouraged, scanning the chaos. I started rummaging through the desk, flicking through pages of notes, receipts, anything that might provide a clue. Lucas was over by the bed, lifting up a pillow to reveal a crumpled piece of paper. "I found something," he called, holding it up. I leaned over, my pulse quickening as he unfolded the paper, revealed scrawled names, which looked like aliases or contacts, overlapping with hastily jotted notes that hinted at transactions and meetings. "Oh, any of these names ring a bell?" he asked, looking between Jenna and me. My heart raced as I scanned through them, something stirring in the depths of my memory. But then I noticed a particular name at the very bottom, a name I hadn't expected to see. "Wait," I said, my heart stuttering to a halt. "This one, I know this person." They were involved with the sound of a twig snapping outside, interrupted my thoughts, causing all three of us to freeze. Jenna's eyes widened, fear threading her expression. "Did you hear that?" she whispered, her voice barely rising above a trembling breath. Lucas moved toward the window cautiously, peeking through the curtain. "There's someone out there," he whispered urgently. "They're coming toward the house." Instinct kicked in, adrenaline surging through me as I darted for the door just as it swung open. But the silhouette standing there was not what we had expected. Instead of confrontation, we were met with wide, terrified eyes belonging to a young woman, soaking wet and terrified, her name a whisper on her lips. "Please help me," she gasped, stumbling in. "They're coming for me." The storm was raging again, but this time it felt different. It wasn't just rain, it was a herald of unpredictable chaos hovering on the brink. The emotions brewed in the room were a cocktail of fear, confusion, and something darker. And as we stood there, on the edge of a truth yet to be unveiled, I realized we weren't just grappling with Jason's secrets anymore. We were now tied to a larger web of danger that pulled us deeper into the shadows, and there was no turning back. The girl's sudden arrival sent a jolt of tension rippling through the room. She stared at us with wide, pleading eyes, panic etched across her face, and it felt as if time had come to a standstill. I exchanged quick glances with Jenna and Lucas, each of us gathering our bearings amidst the whirlwind of confusion. "What do you mean they're coming for you?" I asked, urgency seeping into my voice while I stepped forward, instinctively wanting to offer her reassurance. "They know I'm here," she gasped, frantically looking over her shoulder as if shadows lingered just out of sight. They're everywhere. I can't stay out there any longer. Jenna moved closer, her instinct to protect ignited. You have to tell us what's happening, she urged. Who's after you? Why are they looking for you? I am Liz, she stammered, collecting herself slightly. I worked with Jason. He found something big, and I was supposed to meet him last week, but I heard them talking. They said they'd do anything to keep it quiet. Lucas clenched his fists, the tension in the room building. What did he find? What were you two working on? Liz tore her gaze from the door, the desperation in her expression deepening. It was about corrupt dealings within the city, the kinds of things that could take down powerful people. Jason wanted to expose it. He thought he could trust me, but I guess he was wrong. They know I'm involved. I had to run. The pieces of a larger puzzle started clicking into place. Jason's warnings, the threats we'd received, it all spiraled into chilling clarity. And now they think you have something, I concluded, a sense of dread pooling at the bottom of my stomach. Tears trickled down Ella's cheeks as she nodded. Her voice faint. I don't have anything. I don't even know what he before she could finish. A loud crack echoed outside, the unmistakable sound of footsteps approaching briskly. My heart sank as fear gripped my throat. Get down now, I urged, shoving Liz behind the desk while motioning for Jenna and Lucas to follow. We crouched low, the adrenaline flooding my veins as I tried to steady my rapidly beating heart. Outside, the faint glow of flashlights illuminated the front yard, darting across windows like hungry predators searching for their prey. Who is it? Jenna whispered, her face ghostly pale. I don't know, I muttered, scanning the clutter of Jason's room for anything to defend ourselves with, my mind racing with options. We can't stay here. If they come, and Eliza's hands trembled as she pulled out her phone. I sent a message to Jason's contact list. I hope someone would come for me, but I don't know how much time we have left. No, I insisted, grabbing her wrist. You can't let them know we're here. They could track that message. We need to keep it low. But I can't just leave them out there. Liz, this is about survival. Lucas finally chimed in, his voice steady but firm, grounding us in this panic. We can't save anyone if we expose ourselves. The footsteps grew louder, with muffled voices mixing into a frustrating cacophony just outside the door. My stomach twisted painfully as a flash of recognition hit me. Among the voices, one belonged to a past I fully intended to leave behind. It's him. I breathed, my blood running cold as I recalled the slick smile and the charming facade of someone I thought I could trust once, who was now in collusion with danger. Who? Jenna whispered fiercely, eyes darting between us. Someone from my past, I whispered back, though I barely recognized my own voice. It felt as though a wall ID built around myself was beginning to crack. Someone who might know about everything. If he sees me just then, a loud thump echoed on the porch, the sound vibrating through the air with the ominous weight of dread. I felt the world tilt dangerously, my breath caught in my throat as Liz shifted, panic flashing across her features. They came in through the back, voices laced with urgency and authority. Where's she? They demanded, riling my nerves. The search had escalated, and we were now the hunted prey. And as the footsteps moved closer, Elena's wide eyes darted too. Mine, you have to trust me, she pleaded, and the sincerity in her gaze stirred something warm and fragile within me. There's more to this than you know. Please, if you let me explain. And then, before I could respond, the door swung open, revealing the menacing presence of a figure I never thought I'd see, Again, a familiar face, twisted in malicious intent and misguided loyalty. The breath caught in my throat. As my world felt poised at the edge of an abyss, I knew you'd be back, just like old times. My ex, Evan, smirked, his eyes glinting with malicious glee. But this time you won't have the chance to run away. My heart raced, and in that moment, the weight of our choices crashed together with a tsunami of emotions. Would I betray everything to protect these unwitting allies, or fall back into a world I'd fought so hard to escape from? But as Elena's fear echoed through my mind, I knew no matter the cost, answers were waiting to be unveiled, and the truth couldn't remain buried much longer. We were tangled in a web that promised only danger, and I felt a reckless determination dawning within me as darkness loomed ever closer. The tension in the room snapped like a taut string, and here I stood, face to face with Evan, my past woven into the very fabric of my present. The shock of his reappearance ignited a cascade of emotions I thought I'd buried deep. "Evan," I managed, my voice a bare whisper. "What are you doing here?" Surprise. "I'd say you've been busy making new friends," he replied, the taunting lilt in his voice sending a shiver down my spine. "But I came here for more than just a reunion. I'm here for her." He gestured casually with his chin toward Liz, who was pressed tightly against the wall, her expression a mix of terror and resolve. "Get away from her." Jenna stepped forward, her protective instincts flaring like an ancient flame. In that moment, I admired her courage but felt a surge of fear for what Evan might do next. Evan chuckled softly, a sound that made my skin crawl. "You really think you can shield her from me? You have no idea what's at stake. We both know how this game is played." The sickening thrill in his tone made me want to dismantle the past I shared with him. "Game?" I spat back, my heart pounding, a growing sense of defiance filling the void his presence created. This is someone's life we're talking about, not a game to be played for profit or power. "Life is always a game, darling," he shot back, stepping closer as he ran a hand through his hair, confidence emanating from him like venom. "And those in power don't take kindly to snitches. You really think it's that easy? You thought you could just walk away from everything, walk away from me." I felt the weight of Eliza's terrified gaze on me, and I knew my fight wasn't just for my own future. It was for her survival too. I couldn't falter now. "Whatever you're planning, it ends here. We won't let you take her," I declared, though the words felt like a hopeful whisper amid the tempest raging inside me. "Ah, a noble cause." Evan laughed, but his eyes darkened as they settled on Liz. "But trust me, things are never that straightforward. You have no idea what you're up against." Before I could respond, a loud crash erupted from outside the house, blowing the door ajar as two silhouettes barreled in. It took me a moment to register what was happening. Two more men joined our fray, but these faces were unfamiliar, their intentions obscured by the urgency coursing through the air. "Where is she?" one of them shouted, ignoring the chaos unfolding, their demeanor aggressive and commanding. My stomach twisted as I registered their arrival. This was the moment we'd all dreaded, and I couldn't shake the feeling that no one would emerge unscathed. "Get down," I yelled, pushing Liz and Jenna behind me, as Evan instinctively ducked. "We need to find cover." The newly arrived intruders were hurriedly fanning out, searching around the room with wild determination. Time seemed to pause before it snapped back with a jolt, panic rushing in as I reached for the nearest object, a glass vase. Anything to defend against the storm brewing in our midst. "Back off," I yelled, adrenaline spurring me into action as I took a step toward the intruders. My emotions swirled, a cocktail of fear and determination propelling me forward as I grasped Eliza's trembling hand. "Run." With no clear direction, Jenna and Liz took off toward the hallway, while I confronted the intruders, my heart pounding. "You'll have to get through me first," I shouted, my voice stronger than I felt, but they barely registered my declaration. They made a beeline for Evan, eyes glinting with predatory focus. "You're coming with us," one rasped, locking eyes with him, their intensity unyielding. "We know you have the intel." Evan's cocky smile faltered as he glanced at me, uncertainty flickering across his face. In that moment, I saw him not as the man I loved once, but as a floundering boy clinging to his fading power. "I don't know what you're talking about," I shifted, the chaos surrounding me sharpening my instincts. "What do you know about Jason?" I demanded desperately. "What did he find?" But before Evan could answer, a loud rumble of thunder roared outside, echoing ominously through the small space, adding an extra layer of fear as darkness spilled into the room. In the ensuing confusion, one of the intruders turned his gaze back to me, a sinister grin splitting his face. "Looks like you're in deeper than you thought, sweetheart. Your friend has already given us what we need." His eyes flickered to Liz, who was trying to inch toward the door, trapped between the animation of fear and desperation. I felt my breath hitch in my throat, the implications of his words crashing over me like waves in a storm. "No, Liz, don't trust them," I shouted, but the warning seemed lost amid the chaos. The world spiraled around me as I felt the ground shift under my feet. This was no longer just my past colliding with my present. It spun into a scenario where time blurred, alliances cracked, and trust felt fragile enough to shatter. In a matter of seconds, the stakes had escalated to a point I never envisioned. Just then, the lights flickered, the power in the house wavering. In that moment of darkness, everything shifted once more. I reached for the door, but it swung open violently, our escape thwarted by an unexpected force. And then a familiar figure stepped into the glow from outside, someone I hadn't seen in years. "I wouldn't go anywhere if I were you," the new arrival said, a mixture of warmth and danger in their voice, leaving me frozen, grappling with disbelief. It was Matt, a face from my past I never expected to see again, standing in the doorway with a knowing look that hinted at far more than mere chance. My heart pounded, and with a mix of relief and dread, I felt the questions unfurl in my mind. What had he come to reveal? And more importantly, how had the web I felt so entangled and grown even more complex? This night had twisted beyond recognition, and in its throes were revelations that stood ready to unravel everything I had fought to protect. As Matt stepped into the room, the chaos seemed to subside just enough for his familiar presence to wash over me like a tidal wave, pulling me in but also sending ripples of uncertainty through the air. His gaze locked onto mine, a mix of urgency and warmth lighting up his face in the dim glow of the flashes outside. "You didn't think I'd leave you hanging, did you?" he said, though the gravity of the scene revealed far fewer laughter than when Wedge shared secrets long ago. Evan's composure faltered slightly, a flicker of recognition passing between the two men, attention awaiting its inevitable explosion. "You shouldn't have come back, Matt. This isn't your fight," he warned, a hint of desperation threading his words. The room vibrated with unspoken history, the words hanging like an unfinished symphony, each note searching for resolution. "Isn't it?" Matt replied, his voice calm yet fierce, shimmering with a knowing intensity. For a fleeting moment, I felt the fabric of my past stretch at the seams, intertwining with unexpected alliances. "We all have our parts to play, and right now, she needs us," he said, gesturing towards me and Liz, whose wide eyes reflected a swirl of emotions too complex to unravel. The intruders hesitated, confusion coating their aggression, and that's when I felt an intense pull of urgency and determination coursing through my veins. "What do you know?" I asked, my voice trembling with a mix of hope and longing for clarity. "Why are you here?" Matt stepped closer, his expression softening as he crouched slightly to my level. "I've been following the trail Jason left behind. It led me back to all of this." His words wrapped around me like a protective cloak amid this storm of chaos. I wanted to help, but I didn't realize how messy things had gotten. A crack of thunder punctuated his silence, and I could see Liz shifting nervously beside me, the reality of our circumstances colliding with the chaos brewing just outside. "We need to figure this out," Jenna chimed in, urgency staining her voice. "Evan's not the only one who knows something. I've got a job to do too." With that declaration, the atmosphere shifted once more, revealing an undercurrent of determination sparking through our collective fear. I felt the realization wash over me. We were no longer just trying to survive. We were rebelling against the shadows that threatened to consume us. "Then let's finish what Jason started," I said, the conviction in my voice growing bolder, pushing through layers of grief, vengeance, and fragile hope. "If this is about redemption, we're bound together in this fight. We stand tall against whatever's out there." For a brief moment, the room held its breath, and time stretched as our eyes met, a bond emerging within the tempest. Matt stepped forward, and the way he regarded me now felt almost reverent. "You're stronger than you realize, and you're not alone. We'll face this together." The tension snapped, igniting the chaos once more as the intruders regained their focus. Enough of this. Get them, one of them shouted, and the moment erupted a flurry of movement, bodies shifting like shadows enshrouded in the storm. In that instant, adrenaline surged, grounding me, and I turned my attention back to Liz and Jenna. Stick together, I called out, crossing the room with purpose. We need to work as a unit. Matt, Jenna shouted as she swerved around a flailing arm of face I barely recognized. Propelled forward by fear, can you hold him back? On it, he replied, charging forward, his movements sharp and calculated as he met the oncoming threat. The others and I surged against the weight of the encroaching danger, adrenaline propelling us as we fought for our stakes in this fractured world. As the confusion climbed to a fever pitch, I turned to Liz, grabbing her hand. I need you to trust me. Follow my lead. We dodged a swinging fist, the storm outside growing louder with each chaotic heartbeat. Together, we fought not just for our lives, but for the haunting echoes of everything we had lost and everything we hoped to reclaim. Evan, a wild expression, flitting across his face as tempers flared and tensions boiled over, moved to intercept us. A man complicated by shared history and shadows were out of our league. He yelled, desperation coloring his voice. Then we find a way to turn the odds. I shouted back, the fire in my chest growing. Even as these threats emerged, the depths of Jason's legacy flowed within me, igniting a strength reminiscent of my lost love. Push through together, I yelled, leading Liz and Jenna towards a window at the side of the room, my heart racing with the understanding that every movement mattered. As we drew closer, Matt's presence surged next to me, his jaw set in defiance, even as the chaos erupted behind us. Go! I'll hold them back, he shouted, launching himself into the fray. A protector amidst the storm of uncertainty. Each heartbeat teetered on the edge of despair, but as the rain poured down outside, the determination within us soared higher. We wouldn't fold under the weight of these shadows. I pulled Liz and Jenna through the window, fumbling as emotions swirled, shoving aside despair for the adrenaline of survival. As we landed in a clumsy heap onto the damp earth outside, my heart raced. We need to keep moving, I urged, gripping Elia's hand, willing the combination of hope and fear to guide us. A voice broke through the rain-soaked air. Not so fast. I turned, grasping the fragility of the moment, and, as panic tightened around us, I spotted something glinting in the Shadowsa, weapon pointed directly at us. Fear clawed through my veins, but the storm raged on, its fury incomparable to the turmoil dwelling within. Yet amidst the tumult, as shadows leered royally and the rain poured down, a warm memory washed over Maya, a reminder of laughter shared, of dreams once woven into bonds now distorted by loss. In that instant, an electric surge of clarity leapt forward. What are you waiting for? I shouted into the storm, the wildness of emotion brimming over, intensifying. If we're all tangled in this storm, it is time to face it head on. Remember who we are. And just like that, the haunting shadows began to shock, a powerful resurgence flowing through those echoes of hope's past. As the weapon wavered, doubt echoed through the darkness, and I knew that the storm had brought us to this moment. Together, we were ready as shattered remnants of Jason's legacy among us, rekindling light against the oppressive shadows. In this fight against darkness, each of us would need to reclaim our place, embracing the pain and love enduring through the channels of our hearts. Together, I whispered, as the rain mingled with determination I had long wished to ignite. And, just like that, the evening air shifted around us, a ripple of purpose sparking at the edge of fear. It was a dangerous dance, one where hurt and hope intertwined fiercely, the battle ready to unfold just as the storm began to ease in intensity, weightless like the memories we had once held dear. United as we stood, confronting the storm of our lives, I realized sometimes the most powerful resolution lies in the harrowing embrace of the past, igniting something beautiful and unbreakable in the fire of renewed understanding. And as we took a step forward, my heart full, the sun emerging from its murky shades. I knew in that moment the storm within us all had the power to transform. In this world of uncertainty, together we would rise. "Let's do this," I said, glancing at my makeshift family uniting around me. And as we walked intertwined into the remnants of what lay ahead, I felt a smile slip through a heartwarming promise, encompassing every broken piece. "Let's finish this."